Hello, I'm David Ellenstein, Artistic Director at North Coast Repertory Theater. Thank you for joining us today for Theater Conversations. If you enjoy watching these, please click like, subscribe, and share. It's free to do, and it helps us get more visibility for these videos. Thank you. Hello, thank you for joining us for Theater Conversations. And today I am joined by my friend, my Associate Artistic Director, the actor, director, educator, stage manager, film editor, 440 other hats that he wears, Christopher Williams. Hi, Chris.
Hi, David.
You're usually helping me out as I interview other people, but we're long overdue to do one of these with you. So North Coast Rep folks are going to be really happy to hear all about you, and because you've been around here for so long. So before we even get into all your association with North Coast Rep, where are you from, and how did you get into the theater?
So I'm originally from Connecticut, and I lived there for the first 15 years of my life, and I played soccer for 10 years. I thought that's what I was going to do, was be a soccer player. And then I got into drawing and things like that, artwork. But it really wasn't until high school that I got into acting. That's something that I wanted to do. And that was all by chance. I was playing soccer when I moved to Arizona. I was from Connecticut, moved to Arizona in high school. And it just wasn't the same. Soccer wasn't the same there. It wasn't taken as seriously as it was in the East Coast. So I got really bored, and I went up to a friend that was also playing soccer. I said, you know what? I want to take an acting class. It looks like it could be something. And we did. And it was really fun. And we had a good time. Jeff Hawkins. I mean, you know Jeff.
And you both ended up professional actors.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
He's in New
wild.
York. I'm here with you. So
Yeah.
it was kind of just by chance. We just said, yeah, let's do it. And then we just kept doing it over and over again. We said, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. And I got cast in the plays. And
What was the first one?
Rebel Without a Cause.
Ah.
I played Plato. So I got shot every night. Yeah, it was really fun. That was very exciting. And Jeff actually played the father.
Okay.
It was pretty funny.
Well, in high school, we all did lots of things like that. Right?
Oh yeah. And then I was in Into the Woods. I mean, I got some, I got some good roles. It was really fun.
And then you went to college and continued?
Yep. So then I went to Scottsdale Community College in Scottsdale, Arizona. And that's where I got most of my training. Like the bulk of my training was there. I was there with Pam Fields was one of my big mentors. Pam Fields, Randy Messersmith, Kim Williamson, and Tracy, then Dressler, now my wife, Tracy Williams.
Now, wait a minute.
They are all professors of mine.
You mean that you went to college just to troll the professors to see which one you were going to marry?
That was it. That was my whole goal. No, not at all. But it was life-changing there because it was taking really, really seriously. These were professional actors, professional directors that were teaching the classes. And I then went to the conservatory there and then started working outside with Arizona Shakespeare Festival, which actually Randy Messersmith and Tracy and her ex-husband Kevin, they all started that company, Arizona Theater Festival, which then became Southwest Shakespeare Company, which it is now. So I had been there in the first few years of Southwest Shakespeare too, so as a company member.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so then now we'll start. So I met you for a short time. I was the artistic director and this is actually before I was the artistic director at Arizona Jewish Theater, but the first thing I did there was The Chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And I cast you to play
Danny Saunders.
Danny Saunders, who is the intense, brilliant, Hasidic Jewish kid who is like as tied up as in knots as you can possibly be, right?
Yeah, we'd say he's probably on the spectrum at this point, you know.
Right, right. So what year was that?
Is that 2001?
2000?
2000?
Maybe,
Actually, it was 2000.
maybe. It may have been 2000.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we did that. And I remember the first time I met you is I missed the audition in Arizona, but you
Right.
were in LA. And so I drove out to LA to actually audition for you for that role.
Right, in the old Los Angeles Repertory Company's rehearsal space
Yeah,
up on the second floor.
I remember it vividly.
Hollywood Boulevard. I
Yeah.
remember, and I met Tracy there too, because she was with you.
That's right. Yeah, we drove out there. It was like, you know what? I gotta try this. I gotta do
Who
it.
knew?
Yeah, who knew?
Who knew? Well, you were great in the show. So then when I came to North Coast Rep, I revived that production, not that production, but I did it here as well. And you came out, and that was the first thing you did here at North Coast Rep, was to reprise that role with Robert Grossman, who played your father in both places as well.
I love it.
And that was the beginning of your association here. How many shows have you now either acted in, directed, or stage managed at North Coast Rep?
I think last count was 26 or 27.
Wow, you've done more than I have.
No.
I'm kidding.
You and Aaron, I think, have beaten that.
Yeah. Right. So when you think about the shows you've done here, which ones jump out as you as like they were really fun, they were really meaningful, they were career-changing, mind-changing?
I mean, right off the bat, I mean, The Chosen for sure. I mean, The Chosen because it started everything, and you really pushed me as an actor, and I was still a young actor then, and working with Robert, which, you know, whom I've got to work with several times now, and I love him to death. Right. And just watching him, you know, and interacting with him, that was a huge experience for me. The Chosen, learning the Yiddish and learning the prayers and really diving into that culture to make sure that it was authentic. I'd say that Don't Dress for Dinner was.
Before you go on, how much of your Hasidic upbringing did you bring to that?
Oh, quite a bit. You know, it's really rooted deep with the name of Williams.
Christopher Williams.
And Christopher, yeah. Yeah. But I had a lot of people think that I was Jewish, so that was a good thing.
Right. You've actually played a lot of Jewish roles since then, right?
Most of my career was either Shakespeare or Jewish roles.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that was amazing. And then Don't Dress for Dinner, which was just outrageously fun. That cast was just killer. That was Jackie Wilkie's first role, I think, in San Diego.
Right.
And Phil and I had never worked together until then.
Phil Johnson, yeah.
Phil Johnson. Rosina directed it. Amanda Sitton, oh my gosh. And Liesel and Matt. It was just so much fun. Listening to that audience every night. Then I would say, well, we keep mentioning these in the Laughter.
Laughter on the 23rd floor.
Laughter on the 23rd floor was possibly one of the funniest things we've ever done. I think it was amazing. Everybody in that, just brilliant actors, including yourself.
Well, I only got away with it because I took my pants off. Otherwise,
and a star.
What about what you've now? How many have you directed here?
Three.
Three
that I've directed myself. I've assistant directed and co-directed for you, but
right. But you've done three on your own. Which three were they? I know Gabriel comes to mind right away because that was recently.
Visiting Mr. Green was the first one with
Right.
Robert, and then Last of the Red Hot Lovers.
Right. So talk about that for a second, because I've done that a lot. Worked with an actor as an actor, and then later found myself directing that actor. Mm-hmm. Talk about that experience, and especially when that actor is more experienced than you are. Talk mm-hmm. about the experience and what it's like to make that shift, and just what your experience was with it.
Well, Robert and I had worked so many times together, so we had a rapport already. I knew how brilliant he was and how he worked. I mean, every actor works differently, and you have to find, as a director, the language, right? For each actor, how do you communicate? And Craig Lorenzo was the other actor. It was a two-person cast,
Right.
who was considerably younger than Robert and less experienced. And so marrying the two styles together too, basically with Robert, he's so knowledgeable. He's so gifted. You just let him do his thing. And you just kind of move him and propose questions, right? Well, what if, I mean, do you think would he do this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think when he says that? How many times has he really thought about that question? Things like that. And I learned that a lot from you, from working with you and watching you, asking questions, right? That's what I love. I mean, I love working with you because you allow the actor to discover, and that is a huge thing as an actor, to feel that freedom, but also know that when something starts to go off this way, the director is going to pull you back or challenge you to do more things. And so I think for like when working with Robert, and I've worked with a lot of people now that have way more experience than me, which is great because you learn a ton from that. It's really just getting out of their way, and help digging that path that they want to go in a little deeper and deeper.
Yeah. So one thing you didn't mention is a role you did in a play that I directed, where it wouldn't be something that maybe a lot of people would see you for, and that was playing Ariel in The Tempest. You want to talk about that experience and the decisions that we made about the way to go with the character? I thought you were amazing in it, and maybe the best Ariel I ever saw, because I totally bought the concept and what you did with it. But you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Thank you first. That was it was actually the second time I played Ariel.
Okay.
So I knew the character, but that character can be interpreted so many ways. And we had discussed about bird-like, that kind of sense of ethereal, that he can be anywhere at any time, and that's proven throughout the play. I worked very physically. I actually worked out as much as I could beforehand because I knew I was going to be in a blue unitard, sleeveless unitard. And we decided to shave my head bald, so that he was really sleek, and could be air in almost anything. And then we painted my face and arms all white.
Right.
It was kind of, the physical, everything was physical for me in that. He also sang, so finding what that voice is, and how he reacts to Prospero, who was played by Jonathan McMurtry. I think the one moment that I remember actually really committing so much physical energy to is that simple moment where we decided Ariel to squat into almost like a sitting position without bending the knees, and going from a completely stand and slowly into a squat. Oh my gosh, I remember my thighs just killing me every night and figuring out how to tighten up my body in order to just sink so slowly down while Prospero's talking to him and chastising him. That was a lot of work, physical work, and then climbing things and jumping and running from one place to the other. And I loved it. That was so much fun.
It really was. It was a co-production with North Coast Rep and Miracosta College, where we brought in some equity actors and some other non-equity professional actors, and then mixed in a bunch of students.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the roles were students, but we had a fair number of professional actors as well.
Yeah.
And it came out really well. I remember it was quite enjoyable to work on, and a lot of it was really top notch. I mean, you and Jonathan, and then our three, I don't want to call them clowns, but Richard Barrett and Jason Maddy and John Herzog were wonderful together.
Yeah, I remember watching, because as Ariel, he's always spying on them,
Right.
and tricking them into things and making some weird sounds and stuff. And I remember watching them every night. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was good. So, you for a while took a little sort of detour into a different kind of realm. You want to talk a little bit about that and what it was like, what you got from it, and what eventually took you back here?
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to be a producer in an independent film, as well as acting in it, a little, small part. And it actually was, I was cast in it first, in the first form of it being just like a short. The director wanted to try some stuff out. And so director Mark Schmidt with Liberty Studios here in San Diego, they hired a crew from Hollywood. We went and shot on Universal Studios backlots. And this was all just for a test, to see what we could do with the script and everything. And I was cast as the second lead in it, another Jewish role. It was a Holocaust film taking place in Hungary. And man, when I arrived on Universal set, I drove my car actually past the clock tower from Back to the Future, and I parked it in front of it, and I took a picture of it. And then we were working in Court of Miracles, which the original Hunchback was filmed on. And I remember showing up and just the Nazi flags and everything, like war-torn. It was incredible. I mean, I was like, wow, this is a short? I mean, this is just a test run? What is going on? This is amazing. So they put a lot of effort in it. Anyway, after that, the director asked me what I thought about the script and things like that. And, make a long story short, he hired me to read the next drafts of the full feature script. And so I was in on all the script writing meetings, things like that, because I had a lot of experience, obviously, with scripts and some of the best writers in the world doing theater, doing plays. And then that grew into, what about producing? You want to be a location scout? Great. So we're going to send you to Hungary. We're going to send you to Romania and Canada and different states in the US, scouting out places. I then was doing the history research on everything, buildings, costumes, weaponry, all this stuff for the World War II. And then eventually we got to shooting it, and we shot the majority of it in Romania. And also I read with every single actor that auditioned for it, over 2,000 actors. And I put all the casting lists together. I put all the casting sessions together. Yeah. We went all over. We cast mostly out of London. So I was in London five times doing castings.
Yeah.
Didn't
you end up with some beginning actors like?
Yes, and Kingsley. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was just starting out.
Yeah. What was the film called?
It's called Walking with the Enemy, and it's actually on Hulu right now.
Okay, and then how long did you end up? Did this whole thing that you worked on? It turned out to be what, 5 years or something?
9.
9 years.
All right, that's from the short.
Right.
The small, the short all the way through.
Right.
Post-production and then reshoots.
Right.
And release.
Right.
So yeah.
A chunk of your life.
It's a huge part of my life, and I got to work with some of the best people from Hollywood, from London.
Yeah.
I mean, it was extraordinary. I mean, I got to Romania, I think 9 times.
So did you think at some point that maybe your path was going to take you into the film world?
Yeah, in some way, yeah.
And then why not? Where? I mean, we ultimately decide what we're going to do in our lives.
Yeah.
And you ultimately made the decision to come and be the associate artistic director here and devote yourself back to theater. What drew you back?
I think a lot of it was the stress of it. I think being away for so long, I mean, I was gone 3/4 of the year, either on location scouting or castings or filming and things like that. And not just in another state. I mean, I was in Europe, and so that was, it was a lot of travel, a lot, which I loved. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know this, and the project ended. So, and because I had devoted so much of my time to it to that point, I said, man, I got to get back to theater. And it's not that I left theater, because I was still doing shows here and there, but just not so focused on theater. And you asked me, and I love you to death, and I owe you a lot, because you're a huge mentor of mine and a dear friend, and I trust you implicitly about,
Don't put that pressure on me.
Yeah. So anyway, no, but it's true. And I thought, I'll be happy doing that. And I started to not, I wasn't as happy doing the other at a certain point. I was just exhausted, I think.
But so many of the skills you learned doing that, you've been able to help North Coast Rep with. For instance, you learned some about editing. You learned about what else? What specific that you feel like you learned in those 9 years that's made you a better associate artistic director? And because an associate artistic director is kind of an amorphous title that means different things at every theater that has one, the duties seem to be, maybe of all titles, it may be the one that has different duties at different places.
Yeah.
So some of the things you do here are probably not what other associate artistic directors would ever do. Like, maybe give an example or two?
Well, I mean, editing these videos for one, right? You mentioned that, recording all of these things. I think technologically, I learned a lot, and I learned from, Hollywood editors,
Right.
just watching them. It's not that they sat me down and taught me how to do it, but being a producer, you're in that room a lot, and you learn about, different types of editing and things like that. As for the actual technical stuff, I'm really self-taught. I mean, all of the Photoshop stuff that I do, I actually did all the key art. Well, I would say 90% of the key art for that film as well. So those posters that were around the world and, at Cannes Film Festival and stuff, I did that. I even took the photograph, what it's based on. And then, other artists also, adapted that stuff too. But I would say a lot of Photoshop work for North Coast. I would say a lot of the editing now, especially because we're quarantines, we're not able to do these things live. I try to help Nancy Richards, our marketing director, when she needs to, when she needs help doing layouts or whatever, some artwork, gala artwork. I do a lot of that stuff. So, and I think organization too. Yeah. Being a producer and also wearing so many hats during that production, that movie. It was just like this. I had so many hats. It's like whatever needed to be done.
Well, what else? What are your prime duties because people probably wonder, well, what does he do? We just mentioned the things that you do that most others don't do. What are the things you do that most associate artistic directors actually do?
Well, you and I discuss plays. Right. For seasons. I read plays that come in either through submissions through new playwrights that we don't know, or I'll go and research. Maybe I've seen something or heard something. Somebody's mentioned, hey, this play might be good for North Coast. I will read it and then pass it on to you if I think it's good. You'll pass on things to me to read first. So I'm kind of that first read person. I do the casting as well. I'm the casting director for North Coast Rep, which I love doing because I understand both sides of that table and how it works. So that's a huge part of my job, and also company management. So anytime actors or directors or whomever from production team come into town that are from out of town and need a place to stay, vehicles, making sure that they are comfortable and able to do their job for us. I put all that stuff together, their travel, their housing. I maintain the apartments and the vehicles as well. So yeah, there's a few things.
It's just a few. And then everything else that falls.
And then I get to direct as well.
Right. And act.
And act, of course.
Right.
So I live in the theater, which is, a dream. I mean, to have to be able to say you make your living doing theater is a very special thing, I think.
We're lucky to have you, Chris, and
I'm lucky to have you.
Well,
I mean,
thank you. But you do pick up slack in so many different areas and help in so many different areas and seem to do it all well. And it's, I'm really glad you're here. And I believe I even talked to you about doing this position a couple years before.
You did.
You were not available. You couldn't do it. It didn't make sense at that time, but I didn't give up. And a couple years later, when it was a possibility again, and I came back to you and you thought about it and then you said yes. So it's worked out. So thanks for doing this today so that our audience gets to know you a little more than just the name or the actor on stage. You're an integral part of this organization. So
I love it. It's my second home. I mean, it is. I care about it like it's my home. So, and I'm always willing to help. I want to help. I want to do things.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
I'll see you in the next day or so.
Yes, indeed.
I don't usually get to say that at the end of these interviews. It's I'll see you whenever the pandemic's over. But with you, I'll see you in a couple.
I'll call you in a little bit.
And I'll see you on Zoom for our staff meeting.
Exactly.
Okay, Chris. Thanks.
Thanks so much. All right. Bye.